Hello, Canada. Welcome to some breaking news on the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Well, everybody's talking about this whole Paul Chang and how we discussed about kidnapping another running MP who's part of the conservative government and dropping him off at the Chinese embassy so he can be shipped out of the country and you can collect $1 million bounty. What they're all missing is the rest of the story. I am so glad that this man actually confessed because I finally get to unload a whole pile of information I've been wanting to, and it's a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be able to. So if you noticed on last night's episode, I rattled off a whole pile of stories because I knew I was going to be up all day and night building this file for you. And I'm going to show you how. Now, hopefully you watched my 3-part series on the Khalistani takeover of the Liberal government. Now I'm going to show you how the China government is using the Khalistanis and the Liberal Party for geopolitical war. They're not only infiltrated us to take over our government to help them make billions of dollars and pass their green agenda and investments, they're also using us as a tool, as a really big stick to stir India in favor of China. You're only going to see it on my show, people. And everybody keeps stealing my crap all the time. So I got to really be careful on how I say things so I don't actually give away where I'm going in the future because, like I said, I've got thousands upon thousands of hours of footage and I have millions of pages of documents that I've been going through. I'm just going to give you a short list of confirmed numbers so far that I'm dealing with. That will be in future episodes. Excuse me, I got to sneeze. So, I have names from the Privy Council. I have over 26 MPs. I have over 40 staffers. I have the entire ad scam Protect Canada involved. I also have RCMP. And I keep getting dead-ended at CSIS, which is where the leaks are coming from. And if you watch my 3-part series, you'll understand something's fishy, something's going on, and damn that CSIS, everything's closed. You can't get information, so I keep hitting dead ends. So this is why we really need to get rid of this corrupt government. And hopefully the next government that comes in starts cutting off some knees and exposing the truth of what's going on so I can really, really expose and we can start actually dealing with the corruption on all internal levels. It also goes to the BC NDP party and a few Liberals that are in that province, Eby, his staffers, and 2 other premiers that have popped up a couple times that kind of had my head scratching. And this is just, I'm only through that much paperwork. I've got terabytes of paperwork. Yeah. It's going to be a long one. Try and keep it under about 45 if I can. We're going to start right off the hop and go right from the top and try and dive through this as quick as I possibly can. So, let's start with Toronto Association for Democracy in China. Thank God they have a interpret page. I was trying to do this through a editing software to interpret it for Mandarin. Crazy. They had it right on their page. Worked out great. So here it is. Poof. China election interference in this year's federal election. China has once again stepped up activities to interfere in the upcoming Canadian federal election. Liberal candidate Paul Chang, seeking re-election in Markham Unionville, recently spoke openly about the HK 1 million bounty placed on Hong Kong police on Joe Tay, a conservative candidate at Don Valley. Now, Paul Chang has been on my list. He is been on my, his name shows up lots. I mean, lots. This guy pretty much might as well just walk around with a CCP badge. I work for China on his chest. This is what he said. To everyone here, you can claim the $1 million bounty if you bring him to Toronto's Chinese consulate, Chang reportedly told Ming Pao. His name is also shows up a lot, Ming Pao, a Chinese language media, during an ethnic media conference in January. This is shocking. Mr. Chiang openly encouraged people to assist in China interference and transitional repression, said Chu Kan, a co-chair of the Toronto Association for Democracy in China. Rather than protecting Canadians, he betrayed them and jeopardized their safety. Last December, when Hong Kong police announced a bounty on Tay and other members of Hong Kong diaspora around the world, Minister of Foreign Affairs Melanie Joly, I have her name, shows up lots too, warned that an attempt by Hong Kong authorities to conduct transnational repression abroad, including issuing threats, intimidation, or coercion against Canadians or those in Canada, will not be tolerated. This is all verbal diarrhea. It is all gaslighting. It's all a lie. She is involved. She knows everything that's going on. And I'm going to show you a clip that proves it, where she just gaslights, doesn't answer the question, and pretty much shows she's guilty. She might as well wear the CCP badge on herself as well. She is a waste of skin. China has been mobilizing voters, especially those in ridings with high concentrations of Chinese Canadians, to vote for China-friendly candidates. It's purportedly assisted in the campaign of Chiang to defeat a highly popular conservative incumbent in the 2021 election. We'll be dealing with him in a bit. As well as incumbent MP Kenny Chiu. We'll be dealing with him as well. Was defeated in the same election by an orchestrated disinformation campaign on WeChat, a Chinese social media. Chiu, originally from Hong Kong, has angered China by speaking out against the country's treatment of the Uyghurs. Here we go to Pakistan and the Khalistanis. And introducing a private member's bill to establish the Foreign Influence Registry. Another conservative candidate has been appointed by the party to run in this election. Cheers. Hopefully he wins. This is another example of China exerting undue influence on our elections, said Gabriel Yu, a current affairs commentator. Our political parties are being held hostage in the sense that they are afraid to run candidates not favored by China. I think the wording on that is wrong. I think they are purposely running candidates for China, and you will see where I'm getting by the end of this video. Now, here is the confession. And I was celebrating. I had to rattle through that last night's episode. Man, I rattled right through it. I haven't slept in so long. It's been over a day. Like, I'm tired. But this had to get done. And I put it all together as best as I could there last night, because I knew this is going to be a long night getting all of this together. So thank you for actually admitting that you did it. I hope you go to jail, you loser. This guy is a loser. Paul Chung, ex-cop, should be in jail. I'm surprised the cops haven't arrested him already. It's embarrassing. Rules for thee, but not for me, right? That's how it works. Here's what he said. The comments I made were deplorable and a complete lapse of judgment on the seriousness of the matter. As a former police officer, I should have known better. I sincerely apologize and deeply regret my comments. I will always continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Hong Kong in their fight to safeguard their human rights and freedoms. That is all lies. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hong Kong was given back to China. It's the thing that happened in the war and blah, blah, blah. That's a whole story in its own. Since that day, tens of thousands of people have disappeared. Yes, we're talking from students, kids, mums, dads, anybody who was against, or they had somewhere on their social media said anything bad against China, they disappeared. Or they got knocked off their ladders in their social system, and now they are pretty much starving to death, have no job, and can't do anything because the social credit system that they work there. It's hell now, people. It's China. So, I love this. Michael Chong, this is your Foreign Affairs Minister, the waste of skin, Jolie. What a waste of skin. Now, for those of you who don't know, you're only allowed a certain amount of time to ask questions. We have a highly trained Liberal Party from the WEF who is also infiltrated by China, as well as the UN, as well as the WHO. They are in everything. They're making billions of dollars off of, guess what? The green agenda, which ties in Carney. This is all deep. I will be exposing more and more and more and more and more as my episodes grow, as I go through more paperwork, and as more stuff gets exposed. Now, listen carefully. Go-getter Michael.
Was targeting me and my family.
I've learned it through the news.
Why is this diplomat still here?
So,
Now, this is what they're trained. This is where she's trained. WEF. She's trained how to use emotions. She's trained how to gaslight. Trust me, there's books on this. I've been reading them. I've been studying propaganda for decades. I can tell from the first 3 seconds they start to talk, and their actions speak louder than words. Watch her try to be very serious and emotional. She will remove her earpiece, show a little bit of discomfort, and like she's trying to be honest, and watch her posturing, and watch how she talks. But of most things to watch how she does not answer the question.
I knew you would be asking me this question because it's a valid question. And, just to go back a second, I can only imagine the shock, the pain, the worry that you've gone through, dear Michael.
Michael.
Due to the targeting of your family and loved ones. And so, as I mentioned earlier, on a personal level, and, as foreign minister, I take this extremely seriously. You've asked me questions regarding foreign interference in the past. I've always said that, of course, we would never tolerate any. And second, we would make sure that, if there was any violation of the Vienna Convention, we would take action.
Minister, Article 9 of the Vienna Convention is clear.
I will just, if I can.
I've heard your answer. It's
No, but I'm not finished.
Well, why is this diplomat still here? Article 9 of the Vienna Convention is clear. Article 9 says that the government can declare a diplomat persona non grata for no reason. The article is clear. So why is this diplomat still here? A diplomat who has more rights and immunities than the Canadians around this table to go around and conduct his foreign interference threat activities. He has diplomatic immunity. He cannot be criminally prosecuted. We all remember the case of the Russian diplomat who mowed down a Canadian citizen in a drunk driving case and killed her, and Minister Manley was unable to do anything about it. You have given accreditation to a diplomat here who is using his diplomatic immunity to target not just me and my family, but other members of Parliament. So why do you, Minister, continue to allow this diplomat to be accredited in this country on Canadian soil? That is the question, and you haven't answered the question.
Well,
Now watch, professional gaslighting. I'm going to have to speed through it just because I don't want to eat up a bunch of time of you listening to her verbal diarrhea. Typical liberal verbal diarrhea. They do this in front of the microphones. They do this in committee. They do this in the House. It's all propaganda. They are trained at this, people. Once you learn what to look for, you see it clear as day. It gets to the point where certain things, I just end up looking over and it's like, shut it off. It's like, whoa. If you hear the same thing over and over, you begin to think it's true. Where have you heard that before? The Liberals. Right from their mouths.
Me be able to answer the question. And of course, Michael, I understand your...
Diplomat.
Can I just
We are
finish?
one of the only democratic allies in the NATO alliance that has not expelled a single PRC diplomat. And Canadians are being targeted by the over 100 diplomats accredited
will you
here.
allow the minister to
Okay, thank
respond?
you. So, first and foremost, what we're doing right now as a government is we're assessing the consequences
here we go. I'm gonna start burning time.
of diplomatic learn from the two Michael will take interest.
Nothing.
And no,
Gaslighting.
So
Gaslighting. Nothing.
the
Gaslighting.
targeted. So that's why my deputy
Gaslighting.
minister expulsion of diplomats.
Gaslighting.
Respect to interests, economic,
She burnt 2 minutes up there.
and otherwise, I can't think of an interest more important to the Canadian state than the protection and the safety and the security of its own citizens
And I agree with
here on Canadian soil.
And I
that
agree with
trumps
you.
all other interests.
I agree with
It
you.
is inexplicable that this diplomat
hear?
hasn't been told to leave the country already. And I would hope that the deputy minister is informing the ambassador that this individual...
It's right there, persona non grata. They don't need an excuse. If they don't like the curl of their jib, they can exile them, get out of the country. These people are known to be out causing political interference, threatening people. There is no excuse for this. What have they done? Nothing but gaslight Canadians. Let's move on.
The list of MPs briefed by Canada's spy agency is growing. CSIS has informed Conservatives Michael Chong, Aaron O'Toole, and now New Democrat Jenny Kwan that
And it keeps going. Now listen carefully to this one. You're going to love this one.
Former Conservative MP Kenny Chu laid out his suspicion he lost the 2021 election because of interference from China.
My government is not there to protect me when it's needed.
And he did it sitting across from the Liberal MP who defeated him and current member of the Ethics Committee looking into that very issue.
To protect
Listen
me
again.
when it's needed.
And he did it sitting across from the Liberal MP who defeated him and current member of the Ethics Committee looking into that very issue. Chu says Beijing spread propaganda about him being anti-Chinese within the Chinese-Canadian community.
They purposely picked this man out knowing he was corrupt. In the same election, the other Asian he's running against, they knowingly knew that China was working to get him not elected, which favored their compromised official. And then once they win, they appoint him as the ethics commissioner dealing on what? Foreign interference. Can you imagine what that would feel like, looking at the man that beat you unfairly through another country's influence, and now he's appointed to a position to look into the said crime that got him there? This is liberalism 2015.
They target specific candidates such as myself.
Chu stopped short of saying Baines should not be on the committee, while for his part, Baines had little time for questions.
Now pay attention. This is breaking. When at the time when this is going on, this is all fresh. Look at all the media that are trying to question him.
I have to catch a flight. I'm sorry.
Can we ask you
Look at them all.
sat on the committee, even though there seems to be conflict of interest for you to be here?
There's no conflict at all.
Do you believe you won because of foreign influence?
Nope, not at all.
Where are they? One reporter. This is a huge story. One reporter, people. The media is compromised. They are the right arm. They are the propaganda machine of the Liberal government. This is why I need people to like, share, and subscribe and get the word out. There are a lot of little media outlets like myself that are producing a lot better content, a lot more honest content, and all of our facts are right there. At least mine. Others don't do it. I do. I want to make sure that anybody can go and fact check anything I say. I do not clip. I do not edit. I post all of the homework for this episode and every episode in the description below. And I always urge all of my viewers, please look into it, especially some of the documents and stuff. It would blow your mind away. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Now, moving on. And another one.
We are following breaking news tonight. MP Han Dong says he is resigning from the Liberal caucus to sit as an independent. His resignation from the Liberals comes during a late-night sitting in the House of Commons. Global News is reporting information from two national security sources that Dong privately advised a senior Chinese diplomat to hold off on freeing Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor from detention in February of 2021.
Now, I don't know if you remember this, but there were these two Michaels, and they were being held in China. And it was a big issue. China was doing it deliberately. And you ask, well, why all of a sudden would that happen? Well, the polling numbers for the Liberals were going down. All of a sudden, now there's this huge controversy going on, and the Liberals are coming out trying to look like heroes. In the meantime, they have one of their MPs leaking information to the Chinese government. Yes, telling them, no, hold on to him yet. Our polling numbers aren't high enough. This went on and on. It got serious. America got involved. It was nasty, and all of a sudden, some leaked documents came out, and guess what? The government should have fell. But thanks to their propaganda arm, nothing happened. This guy stepped down, ran as an independent, and is probably, I don't know, I'll have to look him up, but as they all do, they're making six figures in some job they have absolutely no education to be in, paid off. This is how the Liberal Party works. This is the corruption we're dealing with. They literally let 2 Canadians rot in jail so they could get their polling numbers up. And the second it became exposed, the media helped to cover it up so that their polling stayed higher than it was before it happened, that little bit of a drop after, buried, and they found something else for you to look at. And I love doing this. Get the ball. Ready? This is our media. Just go get the ball. Forget about the 2 Michaels rotting. Go get the ball. This is how corrupt our system is, people. But wait, there's more. This is Sam Cooper. I'm going to let it play. Listen carefully what he says. This is the best journalist in Canada and probably Canada's history. This is my idol. Let her rip, Sam.
MP Vaughan. I'm here today to highlight some of the names and entities covered in my updated book and to pose a question. Should other Canadian journalists be examining the openly available evidence surrounding these networks? Firstly, my book recounts...
I love how he says that. Open, in case any other journalists, hint, would like to look into this openly sourced material. It's all there. I put it all out. Is anybody chasing it? This guy is. I jumped on that like white on rice. I was in there. And man, did it ever help me with what I was finding. And I would like to hope that you guys like, share, and subscribe. I know I do email with him to help get it out so maybe other journalists will get on it. Like everybody this morning that's going to be reporting on this whole Paul Chung and missing the entirety of the story. If they actually just didn't go and take little clips of other people's work and try and take credit for it and did the research. I haven't slept in a day and a half, people. I am wrecked building this file. That's what you do, the sacrifice I do in order to get this, build these files with all the evidence put right down below, just the truth, sorry, for my viewing audience. Thank you, Sam Cooper. You are my hero, buddy. Let's rip.
Reporting on a 2020 tape recording provided to me, where Senator Yuen Pao Wu is heard in a 47-minute private briefing with the Canada Committee 100 Society. This group included Conservative Senator Victor O as an advisory member, along with an individual officially listed in a Chinese United Front Overseas Leaders Group. The Canada Committee 100 Society is led in Vancouver by Ding Guo, a journalist who is also an advisor to British Columbia Premier David Eby. Other journalists participating in this tape-recorded meeting with Senator Wu later supported Liberal candidate Parm Bains in 2021. Bains
Parm
had
Bains,
told these
that's the
journalists
guy you just
he opposed
saw.
Kenny Chu's Foreign Agent Registry Bill, describing it as an exclusionary policy. Ding Guo was also reportedly involved in the 2022 Conservative Party leadership race, alongside community leaders officially connected to Beijing's overseas influence arm, the United Front. I can provide more details later on how this should illuminate NSI COP 2024. In the taped meeting, attendees asked Senator Wu about his stance regarding United Front Work Department community group activities in Canada. These groups, according to CSIS, are central to targeting Canadian politicians for influence and election interference. Senator Wu expressed his concerns about Canada's focus on United Front groups, stating, "Whether you belong to an organization that happens to be listed as a United Front organization should not be a litmus test," and added, "I am fighting very hard against that type of litmus test." To provide the evidence of this tape-recorded meeting, which my colleague Charles Burton, a sinologist and Mandarin language expert, reviewed and analyzed for myself, I'll briefly play a transcript from this meeting.
I'm going to speed this up because you can barely hear it, and I tried to edit this and I couldn't. But all his names that he said so far, I've matched mine, and I got a lot of names from him. Like I said, we email each other. I'm on his email
effectively enables the legitimacy of agencies of the Chinese Communist Party in our country. This does call into question Senator Wu's intervener status in the inquiry. Senator Wu didn't comment to me about his remarks, but said I should question the Hague Commission, who also didn't comment. Ding Guo has said there is nothing inappropriate with Canada Committee 100 Society activities.
The Hague was a joke. Every time the Trudeau government says he's gonna, we'll make up a committee, we're gonna do an inquiry, and I'm gonna pick a judge. Everyone he's done has been corrupt. Every one.
Therefore, in Willful Blindness 3rd edition update, I write, in a way, Senator Wu's intervention in the Hague Commission seemed to fulfill his taped pledge to the United Front. He repeatedly filed submissions undermining Canadian intelligence and using Chinese intelligence talking points. My confidence that he appeared to act for Beijing was bolstered by information from a person I call Confidential Source 1, who confirmed that Senator Wu, appointed by Justin Trudeau, was under CSIS investigation. Confidential Source 2 also repeatedly stressed that Conservative Senator Victor O, an advisor to the Canada Committee 100 Society, was a significant target in CSIS's investigation into federal election interference. In Willful Blindness, I write about investigations that began in early 2019. I write, according to 3 national security sources, Liberal Cabinet Minister Mary Ng was identified in CSIS investigations as one of 11 Toronto area candidates clandestinely supported by Chinese consulate and United Front influence networks in the 2019 election. CSIS assessed that Mary Ng was unwittingly implicated in this interference network. Despite my requests, Mary Ng and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's office never responded for comment. As I write in Willful Blindness, Mary Ng was one of the key Ontario Liberal government staffers who moved to Ottawa with Trudeau, alongside more high-profile advisors like Katie Telford and Gerald Butts.
Katie Telford and Gerald Butts.
2 national security sources indicated that a specific CSIS concern was Ng's staff allegedly meeting privately with a Toronto consulate diplomat to consult on China-related issues. CSIS identified this diplomat, Zhou Wei, as a confirmed intelligence actor. According to one source, quote, we believe Zhou Wei worked with political staffers to provide information on meetings of elected officials and their whereabouts. We know staff have direction to report privately to the consulate on Mary Ng, end quote. This is a critical detail hinted at in the Hague Commission's initial report, which, for some reason, did not disclose the involvement of Mary Ng's staff with Zhou Wei or clarify what this implies about Ng's position in Trudeau's cabinet.
Do you hear that? So there's not enough proof that Ng herself is compromised 100%. She's unwittingly. But there was evidence that her staff was leaking information to the Chinese consulate people.
Thank you.
Charles. Okay. Well, Sam Cooper's work these past many years has performed an important service for Canada in exposing the Chinese Communist Party's malign challenges to our democratic institutions and our rule of law. The issue now is the Government of Canada and the Parliament should do what to set things right? Justice Mary José Ogg's Foreign Interference Commission appears to be floundering as the government, fearing negative exposure, withholds the most critical documents and engages in self-interested obfuscation. Moreover, Bill C-70's effectiveness will be in the interpretation of the language, such as the definition of in association with that Senator Wu talks about, the regulations developed to implement that bill, and the inclinations of whoever the government appoints as Foreign Influence Transparency Commissioner, if we don't get it right, we could end up with a Foreign Influence Transparency Registry that will have no names on it.
Now, for those of you who didn't watch, when she was all done and she got up and had her press release discussing all of the things that she was told to say, because obviously the whole thing was a sham, she got up right away, didn't take any questions, and walked off the stage. And the media went silent. It was a smear campaign. It was made to protect the Liberals and their complete corruption and literally complacency with what was going on with the infiltration of their government, and used to smear the Conservative Party. The exact reason that the committee should have been made to help figure out, because it was the Conservatives that were the ones that were being ousted by political interference, and it was the Liberals that were being put into power by political interference, and they used this entire committee to try and smear the Conservatives and India with false allegations, which we're going to get to. Patrick Brown came out later and said it straight out. I knew about it. I wasn't going to win. I had like 1% of the vote. Well, it would have went from, 68% to 67% for Poilievre? It had no effect, no bearing at all on that election. But the media allowed the narrative to go out that Conservatives are infiltrated. Suddenly the light shifts off of the Liberals, who are truly the corrupt ones. I have lists, people, lists of names. There are a couple Conservatives, especially the one senator. He's in here. He's in my names. 99.9% of them, Conservatives. And then in the provinces, Liberals. And in the provinces, NDP and Liberals. There's very, very few Conservatives that are involved in this. Like I said, I've only found 2, and one's confirmed, and we know which that one is because they just said it. He was a sitting senator. Other than that, they're all Liberals and NDP. Smear campaign, media, propaganda. Moving on. This is the end of this presser. They dropped bombshells, names, places, people. They had 2 questions. 2 questions. That's it. This is the end of it. Look at these people.
We'll go now online. Yeah. People on Zoom, if you have any questions right now, please use the raise hand function.
The man that's sitting on the far right is a retired CSIS officer, high ranking, whistleblower. He can only say so much, but he's said enough. You'd think they would have 1,000 questions for him.
There's no question. That will conclude the press conference. Thank you.
Great. Just to conclude, I think it's important to point out that if this happened in the United States, there would be a special prosecutor appointed immediately. And this government is dragging it out. Why? Reluctance is abetting. What's the point of having a law? Why are we protecting individuals who are harming our country, our democracy, our people, and our interests? And this government needs to tell us why. Because frankly, I'm fed up with having to pay the price for it. Because being a doormat is not a policy. And it's time to step up and defend our democracy. Thank you.
And Kevin
Young, thank you to Sam, thank you to Charles,
right.
Thank you to Michelle.
Dead right. You even heard Sam go, it's all here. If the other, I say, I need help. I've got so much stuff, guys. It takes me hours upon hours. If I could have other people helping out, I'll give you all the credit. I give credit where credit is due. This is, the amount of corruption in our government is huge. Sam Cooper literally put the little white flag, hey guys, I need help. It's all here. If any journalists want to kind of jump in, crickets. Mainstream wants nothing to do with it. They are owned, bought and paid by the Liberal government. Moving on. Tom Mulcair, ENSOCOP. It was designed outside of our country by people who are within huge organizations like the WEF, who study other countries' parliamentary systems and learn the laws so they can gray area new legislation in order to keep their corrupt politicians in power. Trudeau has an IQ of 86, people. 86. He did not write this. This document was written, this whole ENSOCOP was formed in order to hide and protect leaked information. Anybody that goes into it is only going to see what was already leaked. The rest is redacted. Yes, and it's an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Once you sign your name, even if you become the Prime Minister, you cannot speak of it again. It is a trap. Listen to Tom Mulcair. I have no respect for this man, but sometimes he gets it right. And this time, he got it right.
Understanding the posture Mr. Poilievre had taken at the time, do you think the position is as tenable today as it was then?
I made the same comments to your colleague Todd this afternoon on CTV News Channel. I agree completely with Pierre Poilievre on this. I believe he is completely right. You do not accept to play this mugs game where you restrain your ambit and your ability to act as leader of the official opposition, which is a constitutional role to hold the government to account. And this game where you have people in the hierarchy of the security establishment saying, oh, he really should come in, but then he's not allowed to talk about it anymore. Really? Didn't we just have a commission of inquiry headed up by Madame Justice Hogue, who put all of this stuff away and said there might have been a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but all of a sudden we're talking about whether Poilievre actually got the 68%. What, maybe it was 67%? I mean, this is madness, to try to make this an issue in a campaign that is so serious for the country, to try to go back to this stuff and to try to complain about Poilievre wanting to do his constitutional duty. He wants to do his job of holding the government to account. And no, he's not going to walk into that bear trap that consists of getting a security clearance, seeing documents that could be important and not talking about it. By the way, when I was leader of the opposition, Vashi, a certain Stephen Harper would call me personally. His staff would give me a setup, called me once during a wedding reception and said, I've got to talk to you. And it was Harper himself saying, look, there's this and this and this that's going to roll out in the next few days. It's going to be in the news. I want you to know about it. That's what a prime minister does with his or her leader of the opposition. You talk. Nobody had to make me swear any oath. I was still the leader of the opposition, but I had no intention of going in front of a camera and talking about it. This bit about...
And there you have it. And the media has been trying to push this. It's a nothing burger. It is propaganda, fear, hate, and division. This is what they've been doing to the Conservative Party for a decade. This government has got to go. It has to go. Moving on. Listen carefully.
It says Canadian officials leaked intelligence on India to US media, specifically the Washington Post. We're talking about secret documents here, documents that were embargoed by security agencies. Yet Canada leaked those documents to the Washington Post. 2 officials were involved in this leak. Both of them have been outed. The first is Natalie Drouin. She is National Security Advisor to Justin Trudeau. The second is David Morrison. He is the Deputy Foreign Minister of Canada. We are talking about 2 very senior officials here, people very close to the Prime Minister. If they have leaked something, it means Trudeau signed off, or at least he was aware of it. Earlier this month, these officials spoke to Washington Post. They revealed information on the Khalistani case. Of course, the Washington Post ran with it. They published their piece on October 14th. It linked India to the murder of a Sikh man in Winnipeg. It also singled out Home Minister Amit Shah, the Home Minister of India. The report talked about him. Clearly, Trudeau's ministers told them about all of this, that too without evidence, because Canadian police have not named Amit Shah, nor have they drawn links to the killing in Winnipeg. So the point of this leak was to smear India. And that's not even the worst part. Trudeau willingly allowed intelligence on India to be leaked, but he was livid when intel on China was leaked. He called it a criminal act. Listen to this.
The issue with the criminal who leaked this information is they got it wrong in what they leaked. And regardless of what's in the newspapers or not, it is incumbent upon a serious, responsible government not to react to partisan attacks or erroneous but salacious headlines.
Which is exactly what he used that inquiry for. He used it as a tool, as a war tool against the Conservative Party and India. He continues with the India. He's helping China. And I'll divulge this very soon because we're coming near the end.
So leaks on China are bad, but leaks on India are fine. Is it because you authorized this one, or because the China leak puts you in a bad light? That's the only explanation. And this isn't a first for Justin Trudeau. He has repeatedly gone easy on China. He has downplayed their meddling in Canadian politics. But what does he object to? Indian media's commentary. If we call out Justin Trudeau's vote bank politics, it is meddling. If we call Hardeep Singh Nijjar a terrorist, it is meddling. If we say Canadian diplomats seem frustrated, it is meddling. Apparently, only anti-Trudeau stuff counts as interference. If you slam the opposition, it's all fine. We saw that during the recent hearings in Canada. Trudeau was called up to testify. He justified the actions of Chinese diplomats in Canada. He said it's part of what they do.
The fact that Chinese diplomats are categorizing MPs and their outreach abilities into those three categories is not itself particularly revelatory or new information to me. It is fairly obvious and a part of what diplomats do in all countries in all parts of the world.
The screws are turning on Trudeau. Even India realizes this. Reports say the government is planning a new strategy, the government of India. The plan is to share details of Khalistani extremists with the Five Eyes.
This is brilliant.
Now, Five Eyes is a Western intelligence group. It includes the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Britain. 5. Trudeau has used the Five Eyes to put pressure on India. So what does New Delhi do? Flip the script. Give details about Khalistanis in Canada to the same Five Eyes. Indian officials have not confirmed this plan yet, but it sounds like an interesting one. And the bad news does not.
And this is why they're thinking about kicking us out of the Five Eyes. Because they know what's going on up here. Now, what's going on with Trump right now? You got me. I have no idea. He's a loose cannon. He must have something planned. Because I know Carney is under investigation with every other person who sat on GFANS. They're all under investigation. And I know that everybody down in the States knows that China has infiltrated our entire political system. So I'm not sure what Trump is doing, but it's, from my guess, not looking good, Canada. Not looking good. Let's move on. This is the bio of Paul Chang, the guy who says, go ahead and kidnap the conservative, get your $1 million bounty. This is where I'm going to start linking China and Khalistan. Listen carefully. So, born in 1960, blah, 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 minister, born in Karachi, Pakistan, to Chinese parents. Grew up in Pakistan until his family immigrated to Canada in 1976, so he was 16 years old. 1976 is kind of a crucial date. If you watch the 3-part series I did on the Khalistani takeover of our political party of the Liberals, this will make sense to you. His wife is also from Pakistan. Interesting. Really close ties to Pakistan. So, listen carefully. Pakistan benega Khalistan, Karachi sees rare Khalistan demand. Now, if you watch my series, you'll know India ended this whole Khalistani thing. The entire country came together afterwards. They realized these Khalistani extremists were complete idiots. and pretty much needed to be rubbed out or put in jail. They were animals. They tortured, they murdered, they bombed innocent people, women, children, didn't matter. They were animals. In an unusual development, calls for the creation of a Khalistan have surfaced in the heart of Karachi, with slogans proclaiming Pakistan Banega Khalasti, Karachi Banega Khalistan, Mullah Bena Khalasta. This unexpected occurrence reflects the persistence of the Khalistan movement's details even beyond India's borders. Pakistan has been accused of fermenting separatist sentiments in Punjab, particularly by supporting the Khalistan movement and aiding Khalistani terrorists. This situation has reached a point where pro-Khalistan slogans have started to appear in the region. The video showcasing these slogans has gained significant traction on social media, amplifying concerns of the influence of such ideologies. Now, China's interest in the Khalistan movement. The government of India has long believed that Khalistani separatists are working in tandem with foreign powers, mainly Pakistan and China. They also believe that governments around the world aren't providing enough support to India to help contain Khalistani radicalism. Pakistan has been the primary reason why global efforts to stabilize and free Asia from international terrorism and extremism have fallen apart. The US-led war on terrorism petered out and died. The threats remain. We can't overlook that Pakistan sabotaged the international community's efforts to rebuild an Afghanistan free of terrorism. Pakistan has historically backed Islamist terrorism and Khalistani radicals. Pakistan's Prime Minister, the late Zulfikar al-Bhutto, made causing unrest in Khalistan and Kashmir to harm India his mission after Pakistan lost East Pakistan, what is now Bangladesh. This is a huge geopolitical war, people. China hates India. They are one of the fastest growing economies on the planet. And the worst part, in China's eyes, they are a democracy. Scares the bejesus out of them when you have that many hundreds of millions of people in a free world that are going to surpass China's economy and become a superpower. They don't like it. They've been using Pakistan. They have been supplying arms and money and funding, helping terrorism all throughout that area, Afghanistan and the works, in order to, as a tool to help push for their success. China, Canada, Khalistan, they're all one. Our government is corrupt. I beg you to watch the 3-part series I did, and you will understand the whole trip to India that Trudeau did when he reached into his tickle trunk that he stole from Mr. Dressup's studio. Where did he go? He went right to the heart of where the Khalistani confrontation happened. He started poking piles of poop the moment he got in office because he works for the Chinese government. This man is corrupt, and so is Carney. Who do you think is the largest supplier of funds to the WHO and has infiltrated it? The same for the WEF. The same with the UN. People need to get this information. Like, share, and subscribe. It's important. This is how we get and free democracy. We're going to move on. Carney gets appointed. I've never seen this before. An open from China. I'm going to read it to you. It'll be fast. She speaks fast. Here we go. We congratulate Mr. Carney on being elected as Canada's next Prime Minister. As for China-Canada relationships, China has always advocated the development of bilateral relations and the basis of mutual respect. Equality and mutual cooperation, we look forward to Canada objectively and rationally adhering to an objective and rational perception towards China, pursuing an active and pragmatic amidst that, and working with China to promote the improvements and development of China-Canada relations. Bought and paid for.
So
This is propaganda. I said I'd show it at the end of the show. I studied this for decades. I am really good at it because I've studied it for so long, and I pay attention to it every minute of every day. Everything from what I read, to what I see, to what I taste, to what I hear. Everything matters. Propaganda is a very, very powerful tool. I'm going to break down just a little wee bit of what the media is doing right now during this election in order to brainwash you. If you hear the same thing over and over and over, you're bound to think it's true. Propaganda. Listen carefully.
I think let's start with the basics. Can you explain just how China, India, and Russia could attempt to interfere in our election here?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple of ways, and I don't have to make it up. We just did a big public inquiry into foreign interference that
public inquiry. They're going to make it sound good.
Lasted over a year. There was a really respected judge who
respected judge. Right? You hearing all this? I just debunked all this. If you like, share, and subscribe, go back and I've debunked all this. The whole thing was a joke. It was all propaganda. It was made to used as a tool to smear the Conservative Party. They got no justice out of it. We still have 11 MPs that are on the CSIS list, and I'm looking at 26 MPs that I know of that have been infiltrated, not including all the rest of the people that I had mentioned. Now I'm going to find more proof, and I will start bringing out names as I have the proof. Right now, it's theoretical, but I've been right every single time.
Got to the bottom of it, and
She got to the bottom of it.
a few things that they can do.
Few things they can do now.
One is what they call hack and leak, so that they'll get into a political campaign, they'll find some embarrassing dirt, they'll hack into those systems, and then they'll leak it with a
Like what we're finding on Carney.
view to damaging the credibility of candidates that they don't like.
See, now here's the kicker, is I've watched this plagiarism thing. This plagiarism thing is a nothing burger. This is propaganda. It's being used because the Conservatives are going to grab onto this and they're going to go, well, look, he's a plagiarist. Skip it. It's a nothing burger. It's a passive. Now everybody's going to go, come on, plagiarism. Yes, he did plagiarize. Yes, he did break rules. Yes, he should have got kicked out of school. No doubt about it. That is peanuts. Focus on the prize, people. Get the corruption out.
They can also try and muck with the elections infrastructure itself, although that's maybe a little bit less important in Canada because we've got a paper-backed ballot, and I still have not found a good way to hack a piece of paper. So that's one.
Like what? Like loading buses full of people and hauling them out in order to get certain pundits put in? The fact that the actual people who are put into these primaries in order to run in these ridings are already had millions of dollars funded before the election in promotions that get these people the popularity they need. See the way he's saying that? Oh, no, it's the paper ballots. We're good. No. He said it. He skipped right over the truth of it and said, well, it's paper ballots because we're not secure. Propaganda, people.
One tactic.
Fair.
The other is cohort funding, right? So you got to follow the money. And so we've seen some evidence of this. Also messing with nomination contests. So busting in foreign students and things like that to try and get your candidate through. And then the biggie is disinformation campaigns where they're really trying to go after the information ecosystem itself.
Disinformation, right? I'm disinformation. They're disinformation. Why? Well, because you're not paid by the government. You're not part of legacy. You're not real. This is what they push. All my facts are right in the description. Everything is in the description. I don't twist. I don't edit. I don't cheat. I don't lie. I don't care if you're blue, if you're red. I don't care if you're orange. I don't care. If you've done wrong and I find evidence, you are going to make it on my show. It just so happens the most corrupt party on the face of the planet happens to be the Liberal Party, and it's in my country. I'm exposing it for what it is. And I even did it in this show. There's a conservative senator that's there. I have another conservative. I can't say the name, but it's looking like we may have another conservative that's involved. If I get information, I'm sorry. Just the truth. That's what I'm here. That's why I started this channel, to get past the propaganda, to get past the lies. I just want freedom. I want democracy. I want us to be the greatest nation on earth, which is where we should have been before I was born. And it still hasn't happened, and there's no excuse for it. That's how I look at it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Like I said, I have a lot, piles, thousands of hours of footage, and millions upon millions, more than 1.5 terabytes of just documents, people. Yeah, that's not touching the videos. The corruption is that deep. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And if you are, punch that notification bell. It not only helps me grow the channel, you won't miss any future episodes. And I'm always breaking shit, like I just did again today. I've been up for way too long. I don't even know. I think I'm like 20 some hours. I'm tired. I only got 3 hours sleep the day day and a half ago. This stuff takes up a lot of time to build these little segments to try and keep you guys informed. You've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm Alias Tagai. Stay informed.